Part 1. The Desperate Plea. The alarm screamed through Luna Station at 3:42 a.m. Earth time. Commander Sarah Chen jumped from her bed, her feet hitting the cold metal floor as red lights flashed in her quarters. In her 15 years of service, she had never heard the deep space contact alarm. Humanity had been alone in the galaxy for so long that most people forgot the system even existed. Sarah ran through the empty corridors, her boots echoing off the walls. The command center was already buzzing with activity. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from his console, his face pale. "Commander, you need to see this," he said. "We're getting a transmission from outside the solar system. It's not human." Sarah's heart pounded as she sat at the main console. On the screen, static filled with strange patterns danced back and forth. Then, slowly, a face appeared. The creature on the screen was beautiful in an alien way. Her skin was pale blue, almost white with silver markings that seemed to glow softly. Her eyes were large and dark, filled with something that looked like tears. When she spoke, her voice was musical, but the translation program struggled to make sense of her words. "Please, help us," the alien said, her voice breaking up through the static. "My name is Zara. I am a scientist of the Cathera people. We are dying." Sarah leaned forward. "Can you understand me?" she asked slowly. The alien nodded. "Yes, we learned your language from old signals. We have been watching Earth for many years, hoping to contact you, but we never dared until now." "We had no choice. What's wrong?" Sarah asked. "Why do you need help?" Zara's face twisted with pain. Even through the alien features, Sarah could see she was sick. Dark veins showed under her pale skin, and she coughed before speaking again. "A disease," Zara said. "It came from nowhere. It kills us slowly, painfully. Our greatest scientists cannot stop it. We have tried everything. But we discovered something in our research. Human immune systems are different from ours. They are chaotic, wild. This chaos might be the only thing that can save us." Sarah felt confused. "I don't understand. How can our immune systems help you?" Zara looked away from the camera for a moment as if talking to someone else. When she turned back, her dark eyes were full of desperation. "Our bodies can share immunity through a process called genetic bonding," she explained. "It is how we transfer biological information between our people. If a human could bond with one of us, the antibodies from your immune system could spread to all Cathera. But the bonding process isn't intimate. It requires complete biological connection." Sarah's mind raced. The alien was talking about some kind of mating process. "Are you saying a human would need to mate with your species?" "Not exactly as humans understand mating," Zara said quickly. "For Cathera, bonding is about sharing life force, combining biological systems. It creates permanent connection. The human would be changed, so would the Cathera. Both would become something new." The transmission flickered and Zara's image became harder to see. "Please," she begged. "I do not have much time. The disease spreads faster now. Soon there will be no Cathera left to save. Will humanity help us?" Sarah stared at the screen. This was the biggest decision in human history. First contact with aliens, and they needed help desperately. But they were asking for something that seemed impossible. "I need to contact Earth," Sarah said. "This decision is too big for me to make alone." "I understand," Zara replied. "But please hurry. Every day, thousands more of my people die." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in silence. Sarah immediately sent an emergency message to Earth. Within hours, every government leader, scientist, and military commander on the planet was in emergency session. Dr. Elena Vasquez sat in the back of the United Nations Assembly Hall, watching the heated debate. As Earth's top immunologist, she had been called to advise on the alien request. But as the politicians argued, her mind kept thinking about Zara's desperate face. "It could be a trap," General Morrison was saying. "How do we know they're really dying? This could be some kind of invasion plan." "Even if they are telling the truth," President Chen added, "we can't just send a human to mate with an alien. The risks are too great." Dr. Elena stood up. "May I speak?" The room fell quiet. Elena walked to the front, her heart beating fast. She was not used to speaking to world leaders, but she knew she had to try. 20 years ago, my daughter died from a plague that our best medicine could not stop," she said. "I watched her suffer for months while we tried everything. In the end, our human immune system was not enough. It failed her." Elena paused, looking around the room. "But sometimes failure teaches us strength. Our immune systems are chaotic because they have to be. We face new diseases all the time. We adapt or we die. This chaos, this wild adaptation, might be exactly what the Kythera need. You're talking about volunteering for this mission, President Chen said. Do you understand what that means? You might never come back. You might be changed forever. I understand, Elena replied, but I also understand what it means to watch a species die from disease. If there's a chance I can help, I have to try. The debate continued for 3 more days. Scientists argued about the risks. Politicians worried about the consequences. Military leaders planned for every possible disaster. Finally, they reached a decision. Elena would go to the Kythera homeworld. She would attempt the bonding process. But she would not go alone or unprepared. Elena spent the next month learning everything she could about Kythera biology. Their bodies were more delicate than human bodies, but they could control biological processes that humans could not. They lived in perfect harmony with their environment, never getting sick until this plague appeared. Their immune systems are too perfect, Elena explained to her research team. They evolved on a world with very few diseases. When something new appears, they can't adapt fast enough. But humans, we're messy. Our immune systems overreact, make mistakes, try crazy solutions. Sometimes that messiness is exactly what works. The night before she left Earth, Elena video called her sister Maria. Are you scared? Maria asked. Elena thought for a moment. Yes, but I'm also excited. This could change everything. Not just for the Kythera, but for humanity too. We might learn things about biology that we never imagined. What if something goes wrong? What if you can't come back? Elena smiled sadly. Then at least I tried. And maybe other humans will learn from my attempt. The journey to the Kythera homeworld took 3 weeks. Elena spent the time studying their language and culture. She learned that Kythera mated for life, creating permanent biological bonds. She learned that they saw all life as connected, sharing energy and information. She learned that they had never met another intelligent species before humans. When Elena's ship finally reached the Kythera system, what she saw made her heart sink. The beautiful blue planet that Zara had described was covered in dark clouds. Cities that should have been glowing with bioluminescent life were dim and dying. But worse than that, Elena could see massive ships orbiting the planet, ships that were definitely not Kythera design. Elena, came Zara's voice over the radio, weak and desperate. You came, but you must be careful. The hegemony found us. They are waiting for us to die so they can take our technology. They do not know you are here. Can you land in the southern continent? I will meet you there. Elena's hands gripped the controls tighter. The situation was worse than anyone on Earth had imagined. The Kythera were not just dying from disease. They were under attack by another alien species, but Elena had come too far to turn back now. As her ship descended through the dark atmosphere toward the dying world below, she wondered if she was flying into a rescue mission or a trap. Either way, she would soon find out. Part 2. Under siege, Elena's ship shook as she flew through the dark clouds around the Kythera planet. Lightning flashed around her, but it was not natural lightning. Energy weapons from the massive ships above were firing down at the surface. She could see explosions lighting up the ground below. Zara, are you there? Elena called into her radio. Yes, I am here, came the weak reply. Land near the old crystal forest. I will guide you to safety. Elena looked at her sensors. The crystal forest was a dead zone now, blackened and broken. She landed her small ship behind some fallen crystal trees and stepped outside. The air smelled like burning metal and something else, something sweet and sick that made her stomach turn. A figure moved toward her through the smoke. It was Zara, but she looked much worse than in the transmission. The silver markings on her skin were dim and she moved slowly, like each step caused pain. Elena, Zara said, her voice barely a whisper. You should not have come. It is too dangerous now. I came to help, Elena said, taking Zara's arm to support her. What happened here? Who are those ships? The hegemony, Zara replied with hatred in her voice. They rule half the galaxy. They came here 3 months ago, just after the plague started. They said they came to help, but they lied. Elena helped Zara walk toward a hidden entrance in the ground. What do they really want? Our technology, our biolabs, our research. Zara coughed and Elena saw dark blood on her lips. The Kythera have spent thousands of years learning to control life itself. We can grow cities, heal any wound, create perfect biological systems. The hegemony wants all of it. They climbed down into underground tunnels that glowed with soft blue light. Elena was amazed to see that even dying, the Kythera had created beautiful spaces. The tunnel walls were covered with living plants that provided light and cleaned the air. But why don't they just take it now? Elena asked. Zara stopped walking and looked at Elena with her large, dark eyes. Because our biotechnology is connected to us. It dies when we die. They need living Kythera to make it work, but they also cannot risk us fighting back or destroying everything. So they wait for the plague to make us too weak to resist. Elena felt sick. They created the plague, didn't they? We think so. It appeared right before they arrived. Too perfect timing. Zara started walking again, slower now. But we cannot prove it. And even if we could, who would we tell? The hegemony controls most of the galaxy. They walked deeper into the tunnels. Elena began to see other Kythera, but they were all lying in strange crystal beds, not moving. Biostasis, Zara explained. It slows the disease, gives us more time. But not much more. Maybe days. Elena knelt beside one of the crystal beds. Inside was a young Kythera, maybe a child. Her breathing was so slow Elena could barely see it. How many? Elena asked. In this city? 2 million in stasis. Across the planet? Maybe 50 million still alive. Zara's voice broke. A year ago we were 800 million. Elena stood up, her hands making fists. We have to try the bonding. It's the only chance. Elena, there is something I did not tell you in the transmission. Something I could not say because the hegemony might have been listening. Elena turned to look at Zara. What? I am not just any scientist. My father was Kethvar, the greatest bioengineer in Kythera history. He created most of our biological systems before the plague killed him. Zara touched a crystal panel on the wall, and a door opened. Before he died, he gave me something, a theory, a possibility. They entered a large chamber filled with amazing equipment. Elena had never seen anything like it. Machines that looked like they were grown instead of built. Computers made from living crystal. Research tools that seemed to breathe. What kind of possibility? Elena asked. Zara moved to a large crystal screen and touched it. Images appeared. Complex biological diagrams that Elena recognized as immune system charts. Human immune systems are chaotic, yes. But Kythera biological control is precise. My father believed that if we combined them through bonding, we could create something new. Not just immunity to the plague. Something that could adapt to any biological threat. Elena studied the diagrams. Even with her advanced training, much of it was beyond her understanding. But she could see what Zara meant. Human chaos plus Kythera control could equal perfect adaptation. But there are risks, Zara continued. The bonding process has never been tried between different species. We do not know what will happen to either of us. We might die. We might become something that is no longer human or Kythera. Elena thought about her daughter, dying from a disease that human medicine could not cure. She thought about the millions of Kythera lying in stasis waiting for death. She thought about the evil hegemony ships above waiting to steal everything. We have to try, she said. Suddenly alarms began to sound throughout the underground city. Zara ran to a communication panel, her movement suddenly quick despite her sickness. What is it? She asked in her own language. The answer came back in rapid Kythera speech. Elena could not understand the words, but she could hear the fear. The hegemony has detected your ship, Zara said, turning to Elena. They are sending ground forces to find you. They know a human is here. Elena felt her heart racing. How long do we have? Maybe an hour before they reach this deep. But Elena, there is something else. The bonding chamber is deeper underground in the sacred city. It will take us hours to get there, and we will have to pass through areas where the hegemony might find us. Elena checked the weapon she had brought from her ship. It was a simple laser pistol, nothing special, but she had learned military training years ago and she remembered how to fight. Then we better start moving, she said. Zara looked surprised. You are not afraid? I'm terrified, Elena admitted. But fear makes humans fight harder. It's one of our best features. They gathered supplies and started moving deeper into the underground city. As they walked, Zara told Elena more about the Kythera and their enemy. The hegemony believes that order is the most important thing in the universe, Zara explained. They think chaos and difference are diseases that must be cured. They have destroyed dozens of species that would not join them. But they want your technology. That seems contradictory. They want to control it, change it, make it serve their order instead of natural life. Zara coughed again, more blood on her lips. They cannot create like we can. They can only take and change and control. They reached a transport tunnel where small vehicles moved on organic tracks. As they climbed into one of the vehicles, Elena heard explosions from above, much closer now. They are in the upper levels, Zara said. We must hurry. The vehicle moved fast through the tunnels, but Elena could see that Zara was getting worse. The disease was moving faster now, maybe because of the stress. Zara, what happens if you die before we complete the bonding? Elena asked. Then the Kythera die too, and the hegemony wins. Zara looked at Elena with eyes that were growing dim. But Elena, even if we succeed, even if we create immunity and save my people, the hegemony will not let us live. They will try to capture us, study us, use what we become for their own purposes. Elena checked her weapon again. Then we'll have to make sure they can't. You talk like a warrior, but you are a scientist. Elena smiled grimly. I'm human. We're all warriors when we need to be. It's another one of our best features. The vehicle stopped at a platform deep underground. Elena could see light ahead. Not the soft blue glow of Kythera technology, but bright white light that hurt her eyes. The sacred city, Zara whispered. Where the first Kythera learned to bond with life itself. The bonding chamber is there. They stepped out of the vehicle and walked toward the light. Elena could hear sounds behind them now. Heavy footsteps, mechanical voices, the whine of energy weapons charging. The hegemony forces, Zara said. They found our trail. Elena looked at the distance they still had to travel and the speed that Zara could move. The enemy was gaining fast. Can you run? Elena asked. I can try. They started running toward the sacred city, but Elena could hear the footsteps getting closer. Soon she could see the hegemony soldiers behind them. Tall figures in black armor moving with mechanical precision. Energy blasts began hitting the walls around them. Elena pushed Zara behind cover and returned fire with her pistol. Her shots were wild and chaotic compared to their perfect aim. But that chaos worked. The hegemony soldiers moved in predictable patterns, and Elena's random shots caught them by surprise. This way, Zara shouted, pointing to a side passage. They ran down the passage as more energy blasts followed them. Elena could see the entrance to the bonding chamber ahead, a beautiful archway covered in living crystal. But between them and the chamber, more hegemony soldiers were already waiting. Elena and Zara stopped, trapped between two groups of enemies. Elena raised her weapon, knowing she only had a few shots left. Elena, Zara said quietly, whatever happens, thank you for coming. Thank you for trying to save us. Elena looked at the bonding chamber so close but impossible to reach, at Zara dying beside her, at the hegemony soldiers preparing to capture them. We're not dead yet, Elena said and started shooting. Part 3. The bonding Elena's laser pistol fired 3 quick shots. The energy beams hit 2 hegemony soldiers, making them fall backward. But more soldiers were coming from both directions, and Elena only had 2 shots left. The bonding chamber, Zara shouted over the sound of weapons firing. We have to reach it. Elena grabbed Zara's hand and ran toward the beautiful crystal archway. Energy blasts flew past them, hitting the ancient walls and making pieces of living crystal fall like rain. Elena could smell burning stone and something else, her own fear. They reached the archway just as more hegemony soldiers appeared. Elena pushed Zara through the entrance and turned to fire her last 2 shots. The energy beams hit the archway and the living crystal began to seal itself like a wound closing. Elena, Zara called from inside. Elena dove through the closing entrance just as the crystal sealed completely behind her. They were safe for now, but she could hear the hegemony soldiers outside trying to break through. Elena looked around the bonding chamber and felt her breath catch in her throat. The room was beautiful beyond anything she had ever seen. The walls were made of crystal that pulsed with soft light like a giant heartbeat. In the center of the room was a circular pool filled with liquid that looked like liquid starlight. This is where Kythera have bonded for thousands of years, Zara said, her voice filled with reverence despite her sickness. The pool connects to the planet's life force. When 2 Kythera bond here, they become part of something larger. Elena could hear pounding sounds from outside. The hegemony soldiers were using heavy weapons to break through the crystal seal. How long will that hold them? Elena asked. Not long, maybe 10 minutes. Zara walked slowly to the edge of the pool. Elena, we must begin now. But I have to tell you something first. Once we enter the pool together, there is no going back. The bonding will change us both forever. We will share memories, emotions, even thoughts. You will know everything about me, and I will know everything about you. Elena thought about her private memories, her daughter's death, her failed marriage, her loneliness. The idea of sharing all of that with another person, even an alien, was terrifying, but outside she could hear the crystal cracking. I understand, Elena said. Let's do it. They stepped into the pool together. The liquid was warm and felt alive, like it was moving on its own. Elena could feel it soaking through her clothes and touching her skin. Take my hands, Zara said. Elena took Zara's hands in hers. They felt cold and thin, but she could sense strength still inside them. Now we must open our minds to each other, Zara explained. Think about your immune system. Think about how your body fights disease. I will think about Kithara biological control. The pool will help us merge these thoughts. Elena closed her eyes and concentrated on her medical training. She thought about white blood cells attacking infections, about antibodies learning to recognize new threats, about the wild, chaotic way human bodies adapted to survive. Suddenly, she felt something incredible happening. Another mind touched hers, Zara's mind. Elena could feel Zara's thoughts mixing with her own, like two rivers flowing together to become one. Through Zara's thoughts, Elena experienced perfect biological harmony. She felt what it was like to be connected to all life, to sense the health of every cell in her body, to control healing and growth with just a thought. It was beautiful and peaceful, like nothing Elena had ever experienced. But through Elena's thoughts, Zara felt something different, the wild creativity of human survival, the chaos that could solve problems that perfect systems could not handle. She felt Elena's immune system learning and adapting, fighting new battles every day and getting stronger from each victory. It's working, Zara whispered, but her voice seemed to come from inside Elena's head now. The bonding was more intense than either of them had expected. Elena could feel her body changing, becoming more aware of every biological process. At the same time, she could feel Zara's precise control flowing into her chaotic human systems. But with their minds connected, Elena also experienced all of Zara's memories. She saw the Kithara homeworld as it used to be, cities that grew like flowers, people who lived in perfect harmony with nature, children who could heal cuts by touching them. She felt Zara's love for her father and her grief when he died. She experienced the horror of watching the plague spread, killing millions of people who had never known disease before. At the same time, Zara experienced Elena's memories. She felt Elena's pain when her daughter died, her determination to become a doctor. Her loneliness after her marriage failed. But she also felt Elena's incredible strength, the human ability to keep fighting even when everything seemed hopeless. I understand now, Zara said, and Elena could feel her thoughts as clearly as her own. Humans are not just chaotic. You are adaptable. You turn pain into strength, failure into wisdom. And Kithara are not just perfect, Elena replied, feeling Zara's memories flow through her. You are connected. You understand that all life is one life. As their minds merged deeper, something amazing began happening in their bodies. Elena could feel her immune system changing, becoming smarter and more controlled while keeping its adaptability. Zara's body was gaining the ability to fight the plague, her precise biological control now powered by chaotic human creativity. But most importantly, they were creating something new together. Their combined immune systems were producing antibodies that could cure not just the plague, but potentially any biological weapon. The cure was writing itself into their DNA, ready to be shared with all Kithara. We did it, Elena said, opening her eyes to look at Zara. But what she saw surprised her. Zara's skin was no longer pale blue. It was still beautiful, but now it had a warm, human-like tone. The silver markings were brighter than before, pulsing with new life. You changed too, Zara said, smiling. She was right. Elena could feel that her own body was different now. Her senses were sharper, her awareness of her own biology more complete. She could sense the health of every organ, every cell. Crash! The crystal seal finally broke, and hegemony soldiers poured into the bonding chamber. They stopped when they saw Elena and Zara standing in the pool, confused by what they were seeing. Step away from each other, commanded the lead soldier, a tall figure in black armor. By order of the hegemony, you are both under arrest. Elena and Zara looked at each other. Through their mental connection, they could communicate without words. We're not the same people who entered this pool, Elena thought to Zara. No, we are something new. Zara agreed silently, something they do not understand. Elena stepped out of the pool first, her hands raised as if surrendering, but inside she could feel new strength flowing through her enhanced body. I am Dr. Elena Vasquez of Earth, she said to the soldiers. I came here to help with a medical emergency. You interfered with hegemony operations, the soldier replied. Both of you will come with us for interrogation. More soldiers surrounded the pool as Zara stepped out. Elena noticed that the soldiers' movements were perfectly coordinated, like parts of a machine. They were strong and well-trained, but they moved in predictable patterns. Tell me, Elena said to the lead soldier, what will happen to the Cathara now that we have found a cure? The remaining Cathara will be relocated to work colonies. Their biological technology will serve the hegemony. Order will be restored. Elena felt anger burning inside her, but it was controlled now, focused by her new Cathara awareness. And what about the cure we just created? Will you use it to help other species? The soldier's helmet turned toward her. The cure will be studied. If it proves useful, it will be used to strengthen hegemony forces. Inferior species will not benefit. Elena and Zara exchanged another silent thought. The hegemony was even more evil than they had imagined. They were not just conquerors. They were destroyers of diversity, enemies of all life that did not serve their perfect order. I see, Elena said calmly. Then I suppose we cannot let you leave this planet with that information. You are in no position to stop anything, the soldier replied. You are prisoners now, Elena smiled. And for the first time since the bonding, she felt truly human again. Human with all the chaotic creativity that made her species special, but now enhanced by Cathara precision and biological control. Actually, Elena said, I think you'll find that we are something you never prepared for. She moved faster than any human should have been able to move, her enhanced biology giving her speed and strength that surprised even her. At the same time, Zara moved with grace and power that her sickness should have made impossible. The hegemony soldiers, trained to fight predictable enemies, found themselves facing opponents who combined human unpredictability with Cathara precision. Elena's attacks were wild and creative but surgically accurate. Zara's movements were perfectly controlled but surprisingly adaptive. Within minutes, all the soldiers in the chamber were unconscious or disabled. That was amazing, Elena said, looking at her hands in wonder. We are amazing, Zara corrected, smiling. But Elena, this is only the beginning. The hegemony has ships full of soldiers. We cannot fight them all. Elena touched the communication device on one of the fallen soldiers. She could hear voices speaking in the hegemony language, which somehow she could now understand. General Thane is coming personally. Part 4. Enhanced and evolved, Elena knelt beside the fallen hegemony soldier and studied his armor. With her new enhanced biology, she could see things she had never noticed before. The armor was not just metal and electronics. It was partially alive, connected to the soldier's nervous system. Zara, look at this, Elena said, touching the armor with her fingertips. This technology is biological. They're using living systems just like the Cathara do. Zara moved closer, her new human-like curiosity making her examine the armor more carefully than she would have before. Yes, but it is wrong. They have forced biology to serve them instead of working with it. This armor controls the soldier, not the other way around. Elena could feel something through her enhanced senses. The armor was still connected to a larger network. I can feel the communication system. It's linked to their ship computers. Can you access it? Zara asked. Elena placed both hands on the armor and concentrated. Her human creativity combined with Cathara biological control let her do something amazing. She began to understand the armor's living systems and slowly take control of them. I'm getting information, Elena said, her eyes closed in concentration. The hegemony has been doing this to dozens of species. They create a plague, wait for the species to get weak, then offer to help. But they only help if the species agrees to become part of the hegemony. What happens if a species refuses? Zara asked, though she already suspected the answer. They let them die and take their technology anyway. Elena opened her eyes, anger burning inside her. Zara, they've destroyed over 30 intelligent species this way. Billions of lives. Through their mental connection, Zara felt Elena's rage and determination, but she also shared something else. Information she had learned from the armor's memory systems. Elena, There is something else. The soldiers are not really soldiers anymore. The armor does not just control them, it replaces parts of their minds. They cannot think for themselves. Elena stood up, her new understanding making her sick. They're slaves. The hegemony turns other species into biological slaves. Heavy footsteps echoed through the tunnels outside the chamber. More soldiers were coming, led by someone whose footsteps sounded different, heavier, more commanding. General Thane, Elena said, still connected to the armor's communication system. He's coming with 20 soldiers and something else. Some kind of specialist. A harvester, Zara whispered, fear in her voice. I can sense it through your connection. It is designed to capture and study new biological forms. If it takes us back to their ship. Elena felt Zara's fear through their bond, but she also felt something else, a plan forming in her enhanced mind. Zara, can Kithara technology be reprogrammed? Of course. All life can learn and change. But why do you ask? Elena smiled, her human mischief now powered by Kithara precision. Because I think it's time to teach the hegemony about chaos. Elena placed her hands on the fallen soldier's armor again, but this time, instead of just reading information, she began changing it. Her enhanced biology let her rewrite the living systems, introducing human-style adaptability into their perfect order. What are you doing? Zara asked. I'm giving their biological systems the ability to think for themselves, Elena replied. The armor controls the soldiers, but what if the armor suddenly develops free will? Zara's eyes widened as she understood. The soldiers would be free to choose. But Elena, that could be dangerous. We do not know how they will react. It's a risk, Elena agreed. But humans are good at taking risks. The chamber entrance exploded inward. General Thane entered first, a massive figure in golden armor that pulsed with dark energy. Behind him came 20 soldiers in the same black armor as before. But among them walked something that made both Elena and Zara step backward in horror. The harvester looked like it had once been a living creature, but it had been changed by hegemony technology. Its body was a mixture of flesh and metal, with dozens of tentacles that ended in various scientific instruments. Its face had no features except for a single large eye that glowed with cold intelligence. Dr. Elena Vasquez, General Thane said, his voice amplified by his armor, and the Kithara scientist Zara Nelketh. You have both been declared enemies of galactic order. You will surrender now and submit to biological analysis. Elena stepped forward, putting herself between Zara and the hegemony forces. We're not surrendering to anyone. You have no choice, the general replied. Your small rebellion ends here. The harvester will extract the cure from your bodies, and the remaining Kithara will be processed for useful biological material. Processed? Elena asked, though she already knew what that meant. Killed and harvested, the general said without emotion. Their consciousness will be removed, but their biological functions will continue to serve the hegemony. Elena felt rage building inside her, but it was controlled now, focused by her enhanced abilities. At the same time, she could feel the changes she had made to the fallen soldier's armor beginning to take effect. You know, Elena said conversationally, there's something humans understand that you don't. When you try to control everything perfectly, you create weaknesses you can't see. Human philosophy is irrelevant, General Thane replied. Harvester, begin extraction. The horrible creature moved forward, its tentacles reaching toward Elena. But before it could touch her, something unexpected happened. One of the fallen soldiers stood up, then another, then all of them. But they were not standing to obey orders. They were standing because for the first time in years they could think for themselves. Elena's modifications had freed them from the armor's control. What is happening? General Thane demanded. The freed soldiers looked around in confusion, then at their own hands, then at the general. One of them spoke, his voice full of wonder and anger. I remember now. I had a family. I was a teacher before you took me. You made me forget. Control malfunction, the general said to his active soldiers. Eliminate the defective units, but Elena was not finished. While the general was distracted, she had been working on the active soldier's armor as well. Her enhanced biology let her send the freeing virus through their communication network. One by one, the active soldiers began to remember who they used to be. My name is Court, said one, removing his helmet to reveal a face that looked almost human. I was a farmer on Kellar 3 before you destroyed my world. I am Vex, said another, her voice filled with decades of suppressed pain. I was a mother. You took my children. General Thane stepped backward as more and more of his soldiers remembered their true selves. This is impossible. The conditioning cannot be reversed. You underestimated chaos, Elena said. Human chaos guided by Kithara precision. We don't just break your control. We teach your victims how to break it themselves. The freed soldiers turned toward General Thane, no longer his slaves, but people remembering years of forced servitude. The general raised his weapon, but there were too many of them. In the confusion, the harvester moved toward Elena again. This time its tentacles reached her before she could dodge. She felt horrible pain as the creature began to extract samples of her enhanced blood. Elena, Zara shouted, moving to help her, but Elena realized something through the pain. The harvester was connected to the hegemony's main biological database. Through its extraction tentacles, she could access their entire network. Zara, she gasped as the creature continued its work. I can reach their main systems, but I need you to help me. Use our bond to amplify my signal. Zara placed her hands on Elena's shoulders, sharing her strength through their mental connection. Together, they sent Elena's freeing virus not just to the soldiers in this room, but to every biological system in the hegemony fleet. Throughout the ships above, enslaved beings began to remember who they were. Engineers, soldiers, technicians, all of them had been taken from conquered worlds and forced to serve. Now they were waking up. The harvester released Elena and stepped backward, its single eye flashing with alarm. Through the biological network, it was receiving reports of rebellion breaking out on every hegemony ship. What have you done? General Thane roared. Elena stood up, supported by Zara. Blood ran down her arms where the harvester had taken samples, but she was smiling. We gave your slaves the gift of choice, Elena said. And it turns out when people can choose, they don't choose to serve you. Explosions echoed from above as the enslaved crews took control of hegemony ships. General Thane's communication system was full of reports of rebellion, mutiny, and systems failing throughout his fleet. But the general was not finished. He raised his weapon toward Elena and Zara. If I cannot control this situation, I will end it, he said, beginning with both of you. Elena and Zara stood together, their enhanced abilities ready for one final battle. But as General Thane prepared to fire, Elena realized something terrible. The virus she had created to free the hegemony slaves was still spreading through biological systems. But it was not just affecting the enslaved beings. It was affecting all the biological technology keeping the hegemony ships in space, including the life support systems. Zara, Elena said quietly, I think I made a mistake. The virus is going to kill everyone on those ships. Through their bond, Zara felt Elena's horror as she realized what was happening. In trying to free the hegemony slaves Elena had created. Part 5. The new symbiosis. Elena stared at General Thane, her mind racing through possibilities. 1 hour to save millions of lives. 1 hour to fix a mistake that could destroy 2 entire species. But through her bond with Zara, she felt something unexpected, not panic, but calm determination. Elena, Zara said through their mental connection, I have an idea, but it is dangerous and it will require both of us working together. What kind of idea? Elena asked silently. The virus you created, it does not have to destroy the biological systems. We can teach it to repair and improve them instead. Elena's eyes widened. You mean reprogram it while it's already spreading? Yes, but we will need to connect directly to the hegemony's central biological network. And there is only one way to do that. Elena looked at the harvester, which was still standing nearby, its single eye watching them. She understood immediately. We have to let it take us, Elena said out loud. General Thane heard her and laughed again. Finally, you understand your situation. Surrender now and perhaps some of your people will survive the crash. Elena looked around the chamber. The freed hegemony soldiers were standing together, confused but determined. They had remembered their true selves, but they were still wearing armor that was failing as the virus spread through its biological components. Actually, Elena said to the general, I have a better offer. Let us save your people, and we'll show you what real cooperation looks like. Cooperation is weakness, General Thane replied. Order is strength. No, said one of the freed soldiers, stepping forward. I remember now. My world was strong because we worked together. You made us weak by forcing us to serve only you. More freed soldiers nodded, their memories returning more completely. Elena could see that they were not just soldiers. They were teachers, farmers, artists, scientists from dozens of different worlds. Order without choice is death, Elena said to the general. But chaos with cooperation is life. Elena walked toward the harvester, ignoring General Thane's weapon pointed at her. I'm going to connect to your network, she told the creature. But this time I'm going in completely. And I'm taking Zara with me. Elena, no, called one of the freed soldiers. That thing will kill you. Maybe, Elena admitted. But if we don't try, everyone dies anyway. Zara took Elena's hand. We do this together. The harvester's tentacles reached out again, but this time Elena and Zara did not resist. They let the creature connect to their enhanced biology, feeling its probes enter their bloodstream and nervous systems. The pain was incredible, but Elena and Zara held on to each other in their mental bond. Through the harvester's connections, they could suddenly sense the entire hegemony fleet. Thousands of ships, millions of enslaved beings, all connected through biological networks that were now failing. I can feel them all, Elena gasped. So much pain, so much fear. They are not enemies, Zara replied. Her consciousness merged with Elena's as they traveled through the network. They are victims, just like my people. Together, Elena and Zara began to reprogram the virus. Instead of destroying biological systems, they taught it to repair them. Instead of freeing slaves by killing their masters, they showed it how to create true partnerships. But the work was harder than Elena had expected. The virus had already spread too far, and some ships were already beginning to fall from orbit. We need more power, Elena said. More connection. Then we give them more, Zara replied. Through their bond, Elena and Zara reached out to every freed being in the hegemony fleet. They offered them a choice: join the network voluntarily, add their biological strength to help save everyone. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of former slaves, remembering what cooperation felt like, opened their minds to Elena and Zara's network. Engineers, doctors, artists, farmers, all of them added their knowledge and strength to the effort. With this new power, Elena and Zara were able to do something amazing. They did not just stop the virus, they evolved it. The new virus began to repair not just the biological systems, but the damage done to the enslaved minds. It restored memories, healed psychological wounds, and reconnected people with their true selves. General Thane watched in horror as his perfect order dissolved into something he could not understand. Millions of beings choosing to work together, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. This is chaos, he shouted. This is the end of civilization. No, Elena said, her voice now speaking through the network to every being in the fleet. This is the beginning of real civilization, one based on choice, not control. Through the biological network, Elena and Zara began teaching the freed beings how to work together. Former enemies became partners. Different species shared their knowledge. The hegemony fleet transformed from a tool of conquest into a community of cooperation. But there was still one problem. The Kythera on the planet below were still dying from the original plague. Zara, Elena said through their bond, it's time to share the cure. Together, they sent the antibodies they had created during their bonding throughout the network. But instead of just curing the plague, the antibodies carried something else, the template for cooperation itself. On the planet below, the Kythera in biostasis began to wake up. But they woke up changed, enhanced by human adaptability while keeping their biological harmony. At the same time, the former hegemony soldiers found themselves able to understand and work with biological systems in ways they had never imagined. What have you done? General Thane demanded, his perfect order crumbling around him. Elena and Zara disconnected from the harvester and stood together, their enhancement now complete. They were no longer fully human or fully Kythera, they were something new. We created a choice, Elena said. Your people can continue to serve order and control, or they can join us in building something better. And what about me? General Thane asked, his weapon still pointed at them. Elena looked at him with sadness rather than anger. You can choose too. The virus we created can free you from your conditioning, just like it freed everyone else. You don't have to be a general anymore. You can remember who you were before the hegemony changed you. For a moment, General Thane hesitated. Through his armor's failing systems, Elena could sense something buried deep, memories of a person who had lived before becoming a tool of conquest. But fear of change was stronger than hope for freedom. "Never," he said, and fired his weapon. Elena moved with her enhanced speed, but she was not trying to dodge. Instead, she stepped in front of the energy beam and let it hit her directly. The weapon should have killed her instantly. But Elena's new biology, enhanced by both human adaptability and Kythera control, absorbed the energy and converted it into healing power. "How?" General Thane whispered. "Because life is stronger than death," Elena replied. "And cooperation is stronger than control." The general's armor finally failed completely as the virus finished its work. He fell to his knees, his conditioning broken, memories of his true self flooding back. Elena knelt beside him as he began to cry, the first tears he had shed in decades. "My name was Marcus," he whispered. "I was a teacher. I had students who loved learning. What did I become?" "You became what they made you," Elena said gently. "But now you can choose what you become next." Over the following days, the transformation continued. The hegemony fleet became a rescue operation, helping to rebuild Kythera cities and sharing technology freely. Former enemies worked side by side, learning from each other. Elena and Zara established the first integrated colony on the Kythera homeworld. Human children played with young Kythera, while adults from dozens of species shared knowledge and culture. The plague that had nearly destroyed the Kythera became the catalyst for something unprecedented, a galactic community based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. Elena often stood on the balcony of their new research center, watching humans and Kythera work together in the laboratories below. Through her bond with Zara, she could feel the contentment of their growing community. "Do you ever regret it?" Zara asked, joining her on the balcony. "Giving up your purely human nature?" Elena smiled, taking Zara's hand. "I didn't give it up. I expanded it. Human nature isn't about staying the same, it's about adapting, growing, becoming something better." Below them, a group of children ran through the gardens, some human, some Kythera, some the new hybrid generation that was beginning to emerge. They played together as naturally as if they had never known species barriers. "They will grow up in a different galaxy than we did," Zara observed. "A better one," Elena agreed. "One where diversity is strength, where cooperation creates possibilities we never imagined." In the distance, ships from dozens of worlds were arriving, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners in building the new galactic community. Word had spread throughout the galaxy about what had happened here, and species that had hidden from the hegemony for centuries were emerging to join the growing alliance. Elena felt a deep satisfaction as she watched the ships land. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through superior weapons or technology. They had transformed it through something far more powerful: the willingness to change, to adapt, and to cooperate with others. The disease that had threatened to destroy the Kythera had become humanity's gift to the galaxy, not immunity from death.